There's no doubt the Bucks are a fantastic team, their record proves it. They are, once again, fighting for the top spot in the Eastern Conference. Despite their success, this Bucks team is way different than any other iteration of their last several years. It's almost unrecognizable compared to their championship roster. In terms of playstyle, game plan, coaching, this Bucks team is winning, but not in the same manner it used to. In fact, their once dominant defense is not there anymore, now replaced by a dynamic, powerful offense, and that has carried them to victories. 130, 140 points, it's common to see them score so much nowadays, and it wasn't like this in the past. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and today let's talk about how the Milwaukee Bucks reinvented their entire game plan. But it came at a cost. I think the first thing we all agree on just by watching them is their defense is nowhere close to being elite like it used to be. There's multiple reasons for this, which I'll talk about later, but here are some numbers. According to Synergy, the Bucks are one of the worst at defending the pick and roll this year, allowing 1.05 points per possession. That's 27th in the league. The Ringer released an article that said, quote, opposing guards who faced the Milwaukee Bucks averaged 29.5 points a game on 60% true shooting. I mean, that's simply ridiculous, and it shows a clear lack of defending the perimeter. They are also 24th in the NBA in defending isolations. All of this has accumulated to them having the 7th worst defensive rating this year. But this isn't exactly surprising for those who follow them. When Damian Lillard arrived to Milwaukee, it was the highlight of the Bucks offseason. They've never gotten a superstar like him in a trade in like several decades. Before he came, the Bucks have always struggled on offense. They were at times very stagnant, and this was more apparent in the playoffs. When Giannis had an off night, or if he was injured, nobody else could carry the offense. Dame is without question one of the best offensive players of his generation, a big upgrade over Drew Holiday, and this trade was necessary for them to fix their offensive woes. Unfortunately, that also comes with Dame's shortcomings. In particular, his perimeter defense and pick and roll defense are both weak points in his game, compared to Drew, who's an All-NBA defender. It's easy to point fingers and blame it all on Dame, but their problems on defense go deeper than just him. Malik Beasley, who's gotten a lot of playing time, has been routinely near the bottom in defensive real plus-minus over the last several years. Just recently, according to ESPN's metric, he was at a negative 3.73, the second worst out of all shooting guards averaging at least 25 minutes a game. He is the definition of a glass cannon. Offensively, he's a machine, a flaming hot ball of fire. And playing next to two superstars, he has more space than he's ever had before, and it's reflected in his ridiculous three-point shooting. Although, he's bound to have some bad games here and there, but his offensive production has outweighed his poor defense, at least so far. With this duo, Lillard and Beasley make up one of the best shooting backcourts in the entire league, but also one of the worst defensively, if not the worst defensively. It's a trade-off, but at least for now, it's been working. A major move over the offseason that didn't get talked about much was the firing of Mike Budenholzer and the hiring of brand new head coach Adrian Griffin. Now, Griffin has been around NBA circles for a long time. I mean, he was a former player too. But the most drastic change in their defense has been his implementation of zone. Previously, the Bucks barely, if ever, ran zone defense, but now they do it on about 6% of their total possessions, which is actually surprisingly the third most in the NBA. He cited the reason being they need to give opponents a different look on defense. Right now, the Bucks are lacking great one-on-one defenders. So playing zone allows guys like Giannis and Brook to impact the entire court more effectively. In general, the team recognizes they took a step back on defense. In fact, if you listen to all the post-game questions and remarks made by the media and the reporters, a lot of their questions have been about their defense and why they dropped off so much.
And that was where I started to go, oh, this is concerning. And then Giannis, I think after the game was like, hey, we need to have some tough conversations. Defensively, we can't take everything away.
Their perimeter and wing players are getting blasted. In years past, it was very difficult to get past the Bucks' first line of defense. Their suffocating defense was their identity for such a long time. The foundation of their defense started at the wings and perimeter. That's what it used to be like. Now, this year, their first line of defense crumbles instantly. They gotta fall back immediately and over-rely on their bigs to cover for their guards' mistakes. This year, their opponents are shooting about 3% better in effective field goal percentage compared to last year, but the main difference comes from the amount of open shots. Via NBA.com's dashboard, the Bucks are allowing opponents 23 open shots a game, compared to just 18 the year before. As guys are slower to recover and close out, it's been leading to more open looks for the opponents. One thing I haven't mentioned yet, which I should have talked about earlier, honestly, is Chris Middleton. More specifically, the lack of Chris Middleton. According to the Bucks, he's been on a minutes restriction to recover from previous injuries. Because of this, Malik Beasley has gotten way more playing time, along with the other bench players, because Middleton is not playing his usual full minutes. It basically resulted in him scoring the fewest amount of points and playing the fewest minutes since his rookie season, and the Bucks aren't used to that. He's always been such a huge part of their offense, and now he's basically missing half the time. Surely it's a big factor in causing the Bucks' defense to drop off too. I also think Middleton has always been super underrated. To give you an idea of his impact, here are his on-off metrics. When he's on the court, the Bucks are nearly plus 11 points per 100 possessions, with a ludicrous 125 offensive rating. Defensively, they're better too, because when he's off the court, the Bucks are just an average team. Their offense and defensive rating without Chris barely break even. Compared to Lillard or Brook or even Giannis, Middleton has the best net differential. His impact, even in limited minutes, is astronomical. For a long time, he was the Bucks' de facto second option behind Giannis. This season, he's been more of a fourth option due to his limited minutes, so the Bucks have to adjust to not having him all the time. In terms of their record, the Bucks are still at the top or near the top of the league for a while, so it's not like they're doing poorly. However, I feel like out of all the contenders, the Bucks have had some very shaky games. Even when they win, it seems like a regular occurrence that they'd give up an absurd number of points. Teams like the Bulls, the Wizards, or even the Pistons, they have no business dropping like 120-plus point games against the Bucks, yet they did. The season is still young, but letting bad teams score that much on you, that's not a good trend. The acquisition of Damian Lillard has been heavily anticipated, and I did mention previously, he provides a huge boost on offense. But he's had issues with inconsistent scoring. It's been a concern. He's had some fantastic games, but that was followed up by poor shooting nights more often than they'd like to see. It doesn't matter that much, cause the threat of Lillard being on the floor means the defense has to recognize him. They have to guard him tight even if he's not shooting well. It gives the Bucks so much more breathing room, so much more spacing. With the addition of Beasley too, I've never seen a Bucks team in the last couple years with a floor this spread out. In previous playoffs, whenever Giannis has the ball, you could see the defense wants to pack the paint. They didn't really respect the Bucks shooters. But with Dame, they have to respect him. Another concern was, I feel like we expected Dame's efficiency to rise drastically. Playing alongside a guy like Giannis, the attention is not on him as much as it used to be, but his shooting from most areas is not great. Coming off the best season of his career in Portland, I guess the expectations were a bit too high. Still, he's been excellent, and I reckon he will just continue to get better as he gets more adjusted. At least he's been better than Drew Holiday in Boston, for sure. Overall, the Milwaukee Bucks are certainly a team to pay attention to. While they're obviously contenders, there are some holes and weaknesses in this team that have yet to be solved. It's reasonable for a team that's overhauled a large part of their core and got a new head coach with a new game plan. It's gonna take a while for everything to come together. Still, they have a lot to prove this year. Getting knocked out in the first round will still stick on everyone's minds, until they can show they can return back to the finals and win another championship. Can they do it this year? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.